Welcome to Billion Dollar Marketing Secrets Over Coffee with Biz Coach Steve Feld. Biz Coach Steve interviews fellow successful business owners about the strategies they have used to grow their businesses, and in turn, you can use them to help you navigate your business towards success. Ready to learn strategies to grow your business with less stress and build a long-term sustainable business to exceed your personal and business financial goals to build the business of your dreams? Well, you have come to the right place. Please welcome Biz Coach Steve Feld.
Hello, fellow business owners, and welcome. I'm Biz Coach Steve Feld, and my goal is to stop business owners from suffering entrepreneurial depression and make running their businesses easier, more fun, and highly profitable. Today, we have a great guest, Ray Keefe. Now, Ray, he's in the electronic manufacturing industry, and he runs Successful Endeavors, an Australian-based business that designs electronic products that are made in Australia. But it wasn't a straightforward journey for him. And after passing his science degree, Ray joined a band that kindled an interest in music. Ray then studied electronic engineering and design and commissioned professional recording equipment while at university. And he followed that by volunteering in Pakistan, broadcast engineering with ABC, instrument design with Varian, 10 years at Invitech, and then founding his own electronics design consultancy. Now, Ray's career has spanned technical and business skills, can offer a personal and very great perspective on both. So please welcome Ray.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, great. You have a lot of experience, and we're chatting briefly right before we hit record about business and engineering. So briefly, tell us, you have a great background. How did you merge the two, the electronic engineering into the business? Tell us how that all came about.
Yeah, so when I was working at Invitech, one of the things I realized was they serviced the big conglomerates and multinationals. They were very expensive. And in Australia here, we have a lot of small businesses. So 97% of all businesses in Australia, I didn't know this at the time, but I do now, are under 5 employees, under $1 million in turnover. So, and the SMEs, the lower end of the sector, they can't afford spending $5,000 per person per day on advanced engineering services with all of the skills and facilities that go with that. And most of them don't need all of that. So tired of working for other idiots, I became my own boss. At the time, I didn't realize the joke that goes with that. And my intent was to try and offer those businesses the same kind of consulting class product development skills that Invitech offered, but a narrower scale, which is just the electronics and software part of it. And also at a price point which I thought would have made it affordable for them to actually then be able to invest in that research and development component for their business. What I didn't realize at the time is that when I was at Invitech, Invitech put around me a whole bunch of business systems that allowed me to do my job and to be effective in delivering their offering. When I set up my own business, I didn't understand the value of those things because I didn't know what they did for the client. And I just focused on price, keeping it cheap. I ran as a home-based business to try and keep it cheap. Our rumpus room was turned into a business. And we struggled for a while. And I didn't know why. And so eventually I realized that I didn't know what to do about that, which meant that there was a gap in my knowledge on the business side. And so I went looking for a business coach, business mentor, business advisor, did some units of an MBA, did everything I could do over a couple of years to try and work out how to get my skill set in business up, and discovered that there's a whole industry out there of business coaches, mentors, and advisors who can't run their own small business consultancies properly, but are miraculously thinking that they'll do better with yours if you give them a monthly fee. And look, some of them have very good skill sets, but they're narrow, and some of them, aren't offering at the moment the thing that's your biggest problem. So engaging with them isn't actually helping you move your business forward, because that's not the thing that's holding you back at the moment. After a couple of years, I found someone in Sydney who doesn't do one-on-one coaching. And he has a very good reason for that, which is that he's trying to help as many people as possible, and it's not a good use of his time. Plus, also, he'd have to charge you 10 times as much.
Right.
And my wife and I, so my wife and I own this business and run it together. Neither of us knew what we were getting ourselves into. But it was like we got married and we started a business all at the same time. Fortunately, my wife's background is in bookkeeping and the legal side. So we actually had some pieces there. So we had technical, we had bookkeeping, we had legal. First piece of advice to a business owner: if you're not an expert in bookkeeping, get someone else to do it for you. You will suck at it, and it will suck time and energy out of you that you need to focus on other things. Same for other aspects of your business. Now, and do these things as you can afford them. As your business builds, you'll be able to do more of these things. Anyway, so we were lucky that we had some skills we brought to the table at the beginning. What I learned from the business coaching, and my business coach said to me, "You are such an engineer." And he said, "I don't know if you can make the mental shift required to do this." So he really challenged whether I was serious about doing this, as well as putting a bit of a, if you like, waving a bit of a red flag to us to try and get us to actually decide whether we were going to do this or not. So we went on that journey. Jeanette, my wife, was not very happy initially because it was money going the wrong way. But I knew we had to do something. And this was the first person I met who knew the stuff I didn't know, was prepared to teach me, not just milk me for a monthly fee, had actually been successful in his own right. So not just theory, but he'd had business success himself, was doing it because he wanted to make a difference for other people, not just because he needed a gig. And this was his current gig. And I had to feel like I could trust him with my dream. So this was the first person I met who had enough of all of those ticks for me to get started. And we went on a journey. My joke from that period now is, as a business owner, I made a very good engineer. And that's the challenge. Yeah. We start a business. It's the E-Myth thing. We start a business because we've got a skill to offer, but we don't realize that there's all these other hats in the business that you've got to wear. And if you wear some of those hats really badly, it won't be your technical skill that's holding your business back. It'll be those other things. Or the model I use now is one of those old Jack and Jill went up the hill style wooden palings, but with the vertical slat sides on them. The shortest paling will set how much water your bucket can hold, not the longest one. Most of us are working on making our longer paling longer, and it's not actually making our business better because it's not the thing that's holding us back. Right. Until we get that short pail. In our case, it was branding, positioning, and pricing policy were the things we hadn't thought about at all. And so we went on a journey, and that journey looked like this. Learn the stuff that we didn't know even existed, the ways of thinking that we didn't realize worked for a business as opposed to an engineer, rebrand, reposition, change our pricing policy. I tripled our pricing so that the pricing and the value proposition made sense, because if something's too cheap, people also don't buy. That's one of the other things I learned. We moved the business out of home into commercial premises in 2009. So for those of you who remember that era, this is the middle of when the GFC is gutting out the economy. We started again, effectively. In fact, our previous branding and positioning was so bad, nobody noticed. So, I've been involved in 2 startups. It was the same business. We just did it properly the second time.
Right.
And so it is possible to run a line in the sand and say, hey, what I'm doing up until now sucks from a business perspective. I'm going to start again and I'm going to do it properly now. That actually can work, because if you've been doing it badly enough before that, nobody's going to be upset that you've now, if you like, the butterfly has come out of the cocoon.
Right.
It doesn't look like a cocoon anymore, but nobody's worried about that because they actually always wanted a butterfly.
And yeah, you brought up a lot of things that we see with business owners in general. It's all over the world, everywhere. Is you actually, thank God, identified it and you did something that a lot of business owners don't do. So you identified a weakness in your own armor, if you will. But the key was you asked for help. And whereas most business owners don't ask for help, and we saw it in many years, economic downturn, 2008, pandemic years, they didn't ask for that help or that knowledge. And you also brought up a thing that I've been preaching from the rooftops for decades. If you don't like doing accounting, stop the insanity. Hire someone to do it because you're wasting your time, your money. It's your money, it's your hours. Think of it at hourly rate. And you're losing your sanity. And you're going to do
It's
it
your
wrong.
energy. You're pouring your energy into something that's very low value.
Yeah, and it's not your skill set, but someone out there loves doing it. They're going to get it done in a 1/100th of a time, and it'll not really cost you a lot if you really did the math. So you identified those things. Now, how hard was it? You said you have like version 1, version 2.0, being the engineer. When you made that transition, what was going through your mind? Like, oh my God, I gotta get this. You brought up E-Myth, wearing the hats. What really sparked in your mind? You're thinking, how can I redo this or reshift it, if you will?
Yeah, so I think business makes sense when it's got a purpose for why it's doing what it's doing. Mm-hmm. So I started the business to try and make a difference to the economy. Wasn't thinking about it this way at the time, mm-hmm. but I wanted to help other smaller businesses get their world-class product designs into production so that they could compete either locally or internationally at the top level so that they could grow their businesses. The way to express this now is I've got grandchildren. I would like to leave them an awesome economy full of value still so that they can continue to make the world a better place as I've had the chance to do it. And this idea that business is just about money is insanity that's being promulgated by the institutional shareholders who've got money and just want more money because they've got money without actually adding value. Mm-hmm. Now, I understand that there is some value to the share market, but the share markets around the world currently don't work the way they were originally intended to. In the same way that property markets are now being distorted and a whole bunch of other markets are being distorted by business for money. The real challenge is to find that purpose and articulate it to yourself so that it actually resonates and makes sense, because then you've got a reason for doing it. So I'm basically trying to change the world for the better by creating the opportunity for Australian businesses to have these products. What I didn't realize at the time, and I'll unpack a few figures for Australia because that'll help to put the context. So as an industry, manufacturing creates more jobs around it than any other industry because there's lots of indirect jobs. Wow. If you're making stuff, you've got delivery drivers delivering stuff and picking stuff up. You've got a coffee truck coming by for morning tea, you've got people going to get lunch, you've got stationery and office supplies being required in the office, you've got people having to clean things, you've got suppliers providing parts, you've got lawyers and accountants having to look after aspects of the business, you've got marketing and other people selling stuff and all of those things. So in Australia, depending on how high tech the industry is, you've got between 2.5 and 5 indirect jobs for every direct job in manufacturing. So if you want to grow an economy, and that's why the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund are pushing manufacturing in Asia, they're trying to lift a continent out of poverty. They're using manufacturing as the engine to do that. But modern economies should also make stuff because you need to create fundamental value. So I'm definitely in the fundamental value creation category in terms of how I'm wired. And my purpose originally was basically to make this difference, but now to express it as we're trying to change the Australian economy. In fact, my job now is to give as much business away to as many other people as possible, so I grow the ecosystem of businesses around me. So, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Right.
So if we shift our mindset from business from how much money can I keep to how much value can I create, then in whatever field you're in, then suddenly all of the covers come off and all of the constraints come off, and now you're thinking about a different problem. Your problem is not how can I sell. Your problem is how can I actually change the world, and how can I conscript as many other people and many other businesses into my plot, if you like, to change the world for the better as possible. So that was the mental shift we made over a period of 10 years. So this journey is over a period of 10 years. This wasn't an instant thing.
Right.
Yeah. And so the business coaching, the relaunching, moving into commercial premises. The other question my business coach asked me is, Ray, are you guys any good? And I started to answer, and he said, don't say anything. I don't believe you. Prove it. And so we went away thinking, how do you prove it? And so we thought about some of the work we're doing, and we had a particular project which had some very nice work from an engineering perspective. We were very proud of the technical part of this work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked that client if we would have their permission to present that work for a particular technical awards program that was running, that I'd seen advertised. We got their permission. We entered that. That was a national technical awards, and we won 2 categories. And so suddenly I thought to myself, wow. But something else happened at the same time. We just signed up a new client. When we found out we were finalists, I let people know that we were finalists for this. This client sent me back an email and said, I'm so glad you sent me this email. We've only just, decided to run with you and trust you with this new, step in our development. We've worked with 3 businesses before you who've all let us down. And, we were a bit concerned because we haven't done business with you before. And, but now that we see that you're even a finalist for this stuff, we just feel so much more confident that this is going to work. And so a light globe came on at this moment. These awards aren't for us to stand on a podium and say, look at how good we are. They're actually to give other people confidence to engage. Mm-hmm. They don't necessarily sell projects, but they sell the idea that we're worth talking to. They get us in the door almost for free. In fact, I don't do any selling anymore. I talk to people. I ask them about, what their needs look like, and they kind of explain a little bit because they don't want to explain too much until they trust you. And then I work out what it is we can do to help them, and I unpack that a bit for them, and then they decide whether that's good for them or not. Because I think we're all tired of being sold to. Mm-hmm. We've been sold to and sold to and sold to and sold to, and now we just want to find a solution that's actually going to work with someone who's not just trying to extract dollars from us. This idea that business is a mechanism for strip mining wealth off other people as rapidly as you can while returning as little value as possible on the backstream. It's an unsustainable idea, and it also makes you untrustworthy as a business. So, we don't operate in that space, and we find that makes it possible for people to be really comfortable to buy from us what's actually good for them, at a price that makes sense, obviously. So that's part of the equation. Australia's also got a couple of unique characteristics. We have the lowest rate of business-to-business collaboration in the world. Wow. The lowest rate of academia to industry engagement in the world, the lowest rate of publicly funded research commercialization in the world. But we rank in the top 3 for problem solving, creative thinking. We rank quite highly for innovation, but most innovation scores have a collaboration component, which tends to drag that one down. But low access to finance, low managerial competence, and low commercialization capability. So those are the real Achilles heels. If lack of collaboration is the problem, the solution is be highly collaborative. Because for starters, that positions you differently to most other people. And then the other side of it, which is the lack of managerial competence, we were addressing, because I was one of those incompetent small business owners, struggling to get past, a certain glass ceiling in what I was doing, not because my technical execution wasn't good enough, but because my business execution wasn't good enough.
And I think you brought up some great points there too. It's like, a lot of business owners are thinking of one way with it. It's about the money, and it's not. It's greater than that. And what I always tell my clients is like, you're supporting a community, you're creating jobs, you're doing a lot more than just having your business and paying for the little league uniforms down the street. It goes so much deeper to that. Once they start shifting that mindset, it's amazing what happens in their business. And you talked about awards and everything. And I've always found with a lot of the businesses I've worked with and myself is receiving the awards from outside when you weren't expecting it, just because you're doing the right things. You're helping the community. You're being part of it. You're helping enough people. And not the fake stuff you mentioned. We're tired of being sold to. So getting your picture in front of someone else's Lamborghini while you're driving by and claiming it's your own, that's fake stuff. And we see right through it nowadays because there's too many people doing that junk. We're talking legit stuff. Your chambers being recognized by other organizations for your contributions.
Yeah, industry groups.
And be engaged in those community events and those organizations. Because you know what? Just like you mentioned with the groups, and we were talking about mastermind groups. In mastermind groups, you're sharing that knowledge and helping one another. You're not keeping it all bundled up and that's my knowledge. No, that's how we all grow and get bigger and better together.
Yep, absolutely. The rising tide lifts all boats idea certainly does work. And that's now my favorite business quote. My previous favorite was from Aristotle. So this is all pre-BC Greek guys that we're still learning from. So the purpose of the organization is so that ordinary men and women in cooperation with each other can do the extraordinary. So business is the modern partnership to make the world a better place together. It's too big a job to do on your own. You need help. So you need partners inside your business. You need partner businesses working alongside you, bringing their piece of the value equation to the table. It'd be really nice if government economic policy reflected the same flavor sometimes. But running a whole country is quite a different problem to running a business.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing. It's like, even in one of my businesses, I actually formed a co-op with all my competitors. My competition within a 10-mile radius, or your world 10 kilometers. And what happened is all of our costs of goods went down because we bought in, because we used the same materials. So we bought in bulk and shared on the pricing strategy. Next thing you know, we all got to know each other really, really well. And then when the economic downturn hit, guess what? We didn't have to go outside to sell. Some of these people were trying to sell their businesses because they got thoroughly slaughtered in it. They'd come right here to the co-op because we know their businesses. And for me, I was like, I know your business so well. I just want to buy your database. I don't want to buy anything else. So I'm on the marketing side. So, having that collaboration will actually expand your business. Getting in touch with your vendors, your drivers, all these kind of things actually grew many of my businesses. And you don't think about those things. You're thinking, they're not my customer. Someone knows someone who could be your customer.
Yep. Yeah, agreed. So we've done a similar thing. So we buy and sell services from our supposedly direct competitors.
See?
But they're not my competitors because I'm trying to change the Australian economy. They're actually on my team.
There you go. And that's a much better way of doing business.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, so it's almost like that paranoid and what's the word I'm looking for here? It's a lack of confidence that you've got in your own business position means that you hold back from other people. First of all, because you're almost thinking, if they find out I've got a client, they'll take them off me. Yeah. That's how confident I am in my business offering. My view is if someone else can take a client off me, then they deserve to have them. In fact, the two of them deserve each other.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes those clients come back. It's
that scarcity lizard brain mindset that creeps in. And I think the business owners that have that, they're out being a silo out in the middle of the field by themselves. Yeah. And then they wonder why they're struggling and others are succeeding.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Insecurity was the word I was looking
Yeah,
forward for.
that's
Yeah,
great.
that lack of your confidence in in what you're trying to do and who you're trying to help. It does, and we have this projection too of in the world of what success looks like. You actually have to decide for yourself
Mm-hmm.
what success looks like for you, because this whole I just want to be, affluent millionaire. I'm doing it because I want that to actually be my Lamborghini. I can tell you now, I don't want a Lamborghini. It's not a good use of money.
Yeah.
Uh, but there are people chasing that. And so those people are not going to be engaging with what I'm doing, and those people are probably, well, they might buy from me or they might not, but they're not my preferred customer either, because my preferred customer, we have a certain amount of business energy each day, and I want that business energy to go into the best opportunities for the whole economy, not just the ones that have got dollar signs attached to them.
Right. Exactly. I mean, the way I look at it, it's like I work with a lot of business owners, just like you described yourself at the beginning. You can build a better widget, but you work for someone who built widgets. I can build a better one, but you didn't realize all the other things they did, and you only focused on building a widget. And I see that with business owners. It's like, listen, I'm here to help you realize your goals and dreams. So we got to get that out of it. What is one thing, I know we're coming close to the end, but what is one thing you kind of learned the hard way that you'd like to tell our listeners? Hey, take this advice. Don't beat your head against the wall.
This is probably more applicable to Australia than the US. In Australia, we're not comfortable with self-promotion. So we don't, except at sport. For some reason, we're really, really happy to be gold, top of the podium in sport. But in the rest of the economy, we have this thing called the tall poppy syndrome, where people who self-promote tend to get cut down. And so I had to become comfortable with self-promotion. Not for the, and the thing that helped me was my understanding that every time I don't, just explain what we offer.
Mm-hmm.
Tell our story. Marketing at its heart is not conning the other person to pay extra for something that they don't need. Marketing at its heart is truthfully telling your story so the other person gets it. Then they can make a fair and informed decision about whether that value proposition is good for them or not. And if they need it adjusted, you can have that conversation, because they now get it. And so we moved into commercial premises and rebranded 2009, May 2009. I remember it that clearly because it was such a big shift, and wondered whether we could afford to do this. Because our cost structures, our baseline cost structures changed enormously. And I thought, I can sell an extra 40,000 a year. I can do that. What I didn't realize is, no, I've got to generate enough business to have a profit at the end of it of an extra 40,000 a year. So that's another learning curve. If you're your business's profit margin is where you've actually got the cash to grow and to expand and do stuff. So you've got to work out what your actual cost of doing business. So that's one thing is, sit down and work out your actual cost of doing business, work out what your real profit margin is. We have a simpler than accounting method of working out our profit margin. How much more money is in the bank at the end of this period of time than at the start? And because cash flow is lumpy, on average, we want to see an upward trend on that line. That's called profitability. If we invest in something, we take that into account. So that was one of the lessons. What I didn't realize when we made that shift was that when we learned to tell our story, because our business coach not only helped us to have a perspective on business, a series of lenses to look at business through as a way of understanding business, but also to tell our story in our words, in our language, so that other people got it, which meant we had to understand their language. We had to start to fit the bits together so that they were getting it. We won those national awards. We found out that our council had an economic development department. So I can tell you now, every city that you live in, there's somebody out there whose job is to help businesses grow.
That's it.
Find them, say hello, let them know who you are. They will know other businesses. They will make introductions for you in both directions, people who could help you. They were the ones who introduced us to the industry associations that we should join because they knew who they were. We didn't.
Right.
So that's another one. 18 months after starting this journey of rebranding, repositioning, and repricing, we won Business of the Year for our region of Melbourne.
Nice.
Not because we were the best business in that region, but because we were the best applicant for the awards. And because we had learned to tell our story so that the judges reading this actually said, wow, this is a business that actually knows what they're about. And that changed everything because suddenly we went from, I don't know if I can do this, to, my goodness, I'm not sure we actually deserve an award like that. But it actually shows that we're making some progress.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. One of my businesses, we won Small Business of the Year for our whole area. So I totally get it. And it was sharing the story. But we were firing on all cylinders. I got to give it that. It wasn't just me. I had a great team with me.
Yeah.
I got to say that. If I didn't have that team, we wouldn't have been there too.
Yeah, so at the start, we didn't have much of a team. So initially, this was just Jeanette and I learning how to actually speak. But for instance, this year we won the best complex technology business in Australia. So that's a national award.
Wow.
And, we've been ICT Business of the Year for Australia. And that's a great team working with me. The other big mistake I made when trying to grow the business early is hiring the people I thought I could afford rather than the people that I really needed.
There you go. There's the key. You just hit it. And that's a common mistake.
Yeah. And so that's, the whole trying to keep it inexpensive.
Yeah.
Right. So it's working on the bottom line, not the top line. If you want a successful business, you've got to work on the top line. You've got to work on how much value can I create? What is that worth? Yeah. How do I sell and explain that value proposition? Because I've got to grow. If I'm going to change the Australian economy, I've got to have a healthy revenue line because you can't do that with an empty purse. And I've got to have really, really awesome suppliers around me that I give business away to because they execute it better than I will. And I don't want to distract my business's focus from what it's really good at by doing stuff that it's not really good at. I want to give that stuff to other people, and I want to build that ecosystem so that when a big opportunity comes along, I can say, okay, I can put the team together for this. But it's not inside my business. It's inside my business plus inside your business plus inside your business plus inside your business plus inside your business. That's a really powerful team. There's only so much, we're not all going to be Apples or Microsofts or, businesses of that size. And those businesses have reasons for why they have to be that size to make the difference that they're making. I'm trying to do something different, but I'm also trying to make sure it can scale.
Absolutely. And you brought about so many great points in our time together. And one of the things definitely, I preach it. It's like, listen, you need help in your business to really grow. You need that outside perspective. You need a team around you, the right team. And you definitely need to get your suppliers, your vendors, everyone on board to become part of your team, your strategic alliance partners, if you will, including your competitors. But get the help you need to grow your business. Ray, I want to say it was a pleasure having you here. We had a great time, and thank you for sharing your being a guest and sharing your experiences.
Yeah, it's been, I really enjoy sharing my experience, including the failures, because what we want is for other people to not make the same mistakes, but to actually leverage off what other people have learned, because ultimately, if they do better, we're actually all doing better. It's not a zero-sum game. They're not stealing something from me when they do better. They're actually making the whole pie bigger for everyone.
I couldn't have said it better, because that's the whole purpose of this podcast. So we will have Ray's contact information actually in the show notes. So if you did want to reach out to Ray, you will be able to. And Ray, and everyone else, I mean, we do have proprietary software where we can find any business anywhere from 50,000 over 100,000 of hidden revenue in 45 minutes. And we develop actually a customized roadmap on how to achieve that revenue. I mean, it's pretty amazing looking at the 497 million algorithms that it uses. And we're always looking for some more businesses and case studies to put in our next book. So let us know, see how much hidden revenue we can find in your business. And if you like Ray and other experts like Ray on this show, please make sure you give us a positive review, subscribe to the channel, and like this episode. I'm Biz Coach Steve Feld, wishing you and your business much success.
Today's episode is sponsored by Profit Acceleration Software. We run your business through our proprietary software that uses 497 million algorithms, so we can find anywhere from $50,000 to over $100,000 of hidden revenue in your business all in 45 minutes. Our software will even provide us with an implementation schedule to turn that hidden revenue into actual profits. Contact Steve to set up a time to see how much hidden revenue we can find in your business. We hope you liked today's guest on $1 billion marketing secrets over coffee. If you'd like to see how much hidden revenue we can uncover for you, well, click on the link in the show notes to speak with Steve. Mention the podcast when you book the meeting. You will receive a special gift. Make sure to like this episode and subscribe to this podcast to hear other great proven business leaders share their strategies to help you grow your business.